When editing an audio file, it's very important that you use a pair of good quality headphones. Your workstation may already come with good quality speakers, but remember that most of your listeners are going to listen to a podcast through headphones. And headphones will pick up on details that speakers just won't. So while you're editing your audio file, it's very important that you can hear everything that your listeners are going to be hearing as well. So I've imported an audio file, and for those of you who follow directly from the previous video, you may notice that when I imported the audio file, the intro file, there were two of these squiggly lines. Now these squiggly lines are called waveforms, and we're going to talk about waveforms later. So the reason why I had two sets of these is because I had recorded that file in stereo, and I just compressed it into a single channel mono file to make things a bit simpler. If you don't know anything about mono or stereo, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So this audio file is just a file that I have pre-recorded, and I've just made a couple of things about an intro for this video series. So once you import an audio file, this is what it's going to look like. It's a block that lives on a timeline, so we have the seconds at the top, and then, like I mentioned, these lines are called a waveform. And the waveform is a visual representation of the sound level of an audio file. So this one's a little bit, visually I can see that it's a little bit low. It doesn't matter, we can adjust that later. So, another term that will come up a lot while we're editing is transport. And we can see it here. So transport is just a term used to refer to navigating along an audio file. So for most people, transport can mean play, pause, fast forward, rewind, etc. But there are more operations such as scrubbing. That's also part of transport, and that can allow us to more accurately navigate through a file. So scrubbing refers to the action of placing a cursor over a specific part of a waveform and play that part of the audio. Scrubbing needs to be enabled before we can use it. So let's see what I mean by this. So if I go on transport and I go into scrubbing, I want to enable that scrub ruler. So once I enable that scrub ruler, there's that little bar that appeared here with a double-sided arrow. So let's see what scrubbing is. So first of all, I'm going to play it in just a regular way. So I click on where I want the audio to start, and I'm going to click on play. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. In the next 10 videos, we will cover the... So pretty standard play, pause, stop. And while this was playing, you may have noticed that there's levels over here that show the decibel levels of this particular audio file. Right, now let's see what scrubbing does. If I hover my cursor above that scrub ruler and I click and I start dragging, in the next 10 videos we will cover the basics of it. Just plays the audio file as I am carrying forward, and it also works backwards. Right? So this is scrubbing. Scrubbing can be quite tricky to use if you're never used to it, and by all means don't use scrubbing if you don't want to. It's completely optional, and the way that you're navigating through your file is a matter of preference, but I just want you to know that it's a tool that's there. For the rest of the videos, I'm going to disable the use of scrubbing because, as you can hear from cover the basics of podcast editing, if you're not used to the scrubbing audio, it can be quite confusing. So I'm just going to disable that for now, and we'll just go with the normal playback. Right? So otherwise, you can just click on any way you want, and then you can just click on play, like on any audio file. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. And then you can stop and pause. All right?